Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and we can focus totally on this drawing improvement right now. So, in this video, I will show you the process of drawing a nose in this realistic portrait. You might know that I'm trying to finish right now, so I'm just going to go through the full process and narrate the techniques and the materials I'm using. So right now you can see me starting with the first layer of shading. I'm using a 2B graphite pencil from Kohinoor. I'm trying to go from the very darkest parts, as you can see on the photograph. So I'm going from the darkest shadows to create some attempt of shading. I'm trying to keep the strokes close next to each other to create very smooth and consistent shading, because in my realistic drawings, I like to keep it very, very soft and smooth. So that's why I'm trying to keep the strokes close next to each other, and that's why I'm using a chisel point tip of the pencil. As you can see in here, the flat plane of the chisel point, it's just perfect for creating these consistent planes in the shading, because it creates very how to call it, thick lines, and it will help you to achieve the consistency and the smoothness of the shading. Also, I'm trying to keep the pressure really light. I don't like to push on the pencil. I like to create the values with more layers of shading, or with softer pencils producing more graphite rather than just pushing the pencil and creating dark values. I don't like to use it, because moreover it adds more depth to the drawing when you use more layers of shading. Also, I love to go from the lightest tones to the very dark ones. So I will darken it. I will go over many times and darken it with more layers of shading, or with softer pencils to achieve darker results and darker values in the drawing. So, still using the 2B graphite pencil. Right now I turned the pencil to use the sharp edge, as you can see in here, to redefine the nostril of the nose, to redefine the sharp edge in here, because we need to define the nostrils with sharp line to separate it from the rest of the nose. That's great when you use the sharp point of the pencil, or pencil sharpened into a pointed tip. And in this case, it's great to use the chisel point, because you can use both of the edges, the flat plane for shading, and then when you turn it, you can just use the sharp edge. As you can see in here again, I'm trying to redefine the wing, the side of the nose, the wing, and just separate it from the rest of the face on next to the nose. And right now you can see me that I turned the pencil again, and I'm using the flat plane for creating a little shadow next to the line I just created with the sharp edge. So it's just perfect tool and perfect technique for using it in the shading in the realistic drawing, because when you use the flat plane, you just keep reshaping the sharp edge. It's just perfect. So you don't even need to sharpen it all the time. So right now I'm trying to create like attempt of a shadow under her nose, because as you can see on the photograph, wait, I will just try to find the photograph, because I can't see it right now. I will find it in here. I have so many photographs as references just in my folder, so I need to get through it. Yes, in here. So you can actually see it on the screen, but I don't see it. I will put it to the video later. So you can see that the light is actually coming from the top, from one side. It goes a little from the top. It comes from the left, from the right side of her face, and it's creating a cast shadow on right next to her nose on the right side, and also under the nose on one side. So I was creating the attempt of the cast shadow, and right now you can see me that I'm creating a shadow on the right side of her nose. It's perfect lighting because it just emphasizes the shape of the nose. It's just perfect for the nose study, because when the light is coming from the front, you can't really see all of the shapes in the nose, as it looks a little bit flat without the shading. So this is just perfect, and we will the shading will help us to achieve the illusion of form of the nose. So using more values, using more layers of shading to achieve more values and darker values will help us to get this illusion of form, which is really important in the realistic portraits. Right now you can see me using a soft paintbrush. It's actually a synthetic paintbrush, a very soft one. I think it's number 9 or 8, I'm not sure right now. It's from Da Vinci, but I think you can use any paintbrush you want, even a makeup brush, because the makeup brush for creating the shadow on your face or on your eyes, on your eyelids and so on is really soft, so it will be just perfect for softening the lines and for achieving very soft blending. I use the paintbrush just to soften all the lines. I don't want to get away. I don't want to get rid of all of the texture. I just want to soften everything and merge nicely together, and the paintbrush is just perfect for it. Somebody uses a tissue. I use it sometimes as well. Sometimes I use a soft pad for the makeup removal. It's totally up to you. You need to try more techniques and more tools to know what fits you the most. These are the very basic tools I use. I don't really recommend to use a blending stump in here. I use blending stump a lot, but in order to blend smaller areas in the drawing, for example the iris or the eyeball, or shading like really small parts of the face, because when you go to the larger area, I'm a little bit scared of this, because it leaves some unwanted smudges in the drawing, because when you use some back and forth movements and so on, you can leave some unwanted smudges on the edges of the strokes. So that's why I don't really like to use it. You can be really careful and use it carefully when you use, for example, very soft circular motions, and then you don't leave the unwanted smudges in it. But you need to be very careful, and you just don't push too much. And also try it on a special piece of paper next to the drawing before you actually apply it into the sketch or into the drawing, because you don't want to make someone put some smudges in the drawing after a few hours of trying to shade the area, and then you just create some smudge and you need to erase it. It's just, I don't want to do it. So still using the paintbrush. Also, sometimes I use the paintbrush for creating more values in the drawing, and to create the gradual transition between the shaded and unshaded part, because when you use the paintbrush for blending, the paintbrush just absorbs the graphite, and then you can use it for some shading as well. So in here you can see me using it for shading. Actually right now it looks a little bit weird, but I don't like the shading in this stage of the shading, but I'm just trying to create some attempt of shading to see where actually to get an idea where the shadows are and how to create the form. And now I will recreate it and refine it to the final result. So don't worry, it's not going to look like this. It's just my attempt of the shading, and in order to see where the shadows will be and how the form will be created. So right now I'm using a softer pencil. It's actually, you can use 2B, 3B or 4B graphite for darker values. You can see that I'm going actually from the very darkest shadows, so I'm darkening the places which are the darkest in the portrait. It's the in the nose. That's the nostrils, and also the cast shadow next to the nose and under her nose. You can see that I'm using simple hatching technique, so I'm keeping the strokes close next to each other. I think in this case I'm using 3B graphite pencil from Kohinoor. That's actually a little softer than the 2B I was using before. And as I said many times, I have a feeling that you could see me using Faber-Castell pencils as well, and I have a feeling that Faber-Castell pencils produce more graphite. So it means that the 2B graphite pencil from Kohinoor produces less graphite than the 2B graphite pencil from Faber-Castell. It means that I use it for different kind of values in the portrait. So yeah, but you need to check, you need to try it. Also, I think that you can find some different pencils you might like from different brands. I don't think there are actually bad quality pencils on the market. If it's not for children, like I don't know, some no-name brands. But if you go to the art store, you can try any brand of the pencils, and you will see if you like it or not, because it might be a really professional brand, and the tools just don't fit you because you just don't feel it in the process. You don't you are not satisfied with the result and so on. So you need to try it out. I just can give you some advice, and I can recommend you the pencils I use myself if you like my process. But I think it's really important to feel it during the process, if you like the pencil or not. If you like the footage that the track that it's created with the pencil, because it's just totally different in various brands. Also, when I come to, you can see me still trying to add more layers of, it's very soft layer. You can't really see it at the moment. You can't really see the strokes one by one, but the result is there. It's getting there slowly. If you make a time lapse from it, you can actually see the process. There is this process of creating the values, but you can't really see it when it's really slow process right now. So all the pencil strokes together, they create a huge difference in the end. So I'm trying to get there really slowly. I enjoy this process this way much more, and also I have a feeling that there is more depth in the drawing like this. So yeah, when I come to the paper, I didn't talk about the paper yet. in this case, I'm using a regular sketchbook with a smooth surface of the paper. So this is just a sketchbook practice. It's not a final drawing I would deliver to my client. It's just a study of a face in the sketchbook. When you saw my one of my latest tips related to the paper I use, you could see that I am recommending a Bristol paper. That's the best paper for me for the realistic drawings, because you can achieve really smooth results without seeing actually the texture of the paper in it. Still, in this video, on the other hand, if you're using the sketchbook, even if it's a smooth surface, you can still, there are some white dots visible in the drawing, as you can see right beside her left eye on the right side of the video. There is the shadow right next to the inner corner right next to the tear duct of her eye, and you can see that there are some white dots visible in the shading. I don't say it's bad that it's visible. It's totally depending on you if you like it or not, or if you want to have it in the final drawing or not. Sometimes if it's just a sketchbook practice, I don't really care, because I care about some other parts. But if it's a realistic drawing that I would like to keep as a result, I would like to keep the result for someone to buy or anything like that. It's just better to use the Bristol paper for me. Also, it's acid free. I don't know if the sketchbook paper is acid free. It means that it's not preserved so much, but I think that the best paper for the realism is just this Bristol paper I showed you in one of my videos related to the paper. Yeah, I just have it here with me. So I'm going to redefine the sharp edges in the nose as well again. So also, when you use the blending tools and you go over the drawing and blend, it's always better to go over with the sharp edge and redefine the lines, the significant lines in the drawing, because you don't want to lose them, because everything is getting so how to call it, blurry. The edges get a little blurry when you go over with the blending tool. Also, you can see me using a special piece of paper under my drawing hand. That's because I don't want to smudge everything I created before with my drawing hand. Also, the oils coming from the skin can damage the paper or the drawing, so it's always better to use a special piece of paper under your drawing hand, just to prevent from some unwanted smudges in the drawing again. Also, in here you can see me using little softer pencil. You can use 4B, 5B, 6B graphite pencil for creating this dark value, such as the nostril. And I will also use the same pencil for darkening the shadows on the tip of the nose. So as the tip of the nose is rounded, and the light is coming from the side and the top, one side coming more from the top. I don't know how to call it in English. I should really study these words, or I don't know, this artistic language more to. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's getting from. It's actually the light is coming from one side, and that's how the tip of the that's how we can see the tip of the nose is rounded, because there is this shadow created on one side, and the shadow is getting gradually from the darkest to the lightest one to the highlight of the nose. That's on one side of the nose. So this is how we can see that it's rounded, or that it's the 3D form. So I recommend to follow these shapes, to follow these shadows to create a realistic result of the shading. And you can see that these layers are really soft and light. Even when I use softer pencils, still the layers are really light. This is how I do it. Actually, there are many ways to get there. Someone goes from the darkest values to the lightest ones, that they use the softest pencils and create the darkest values, and then they just use a blender or not, or blending tool or not, to just blend the shaded area, and then create gradual transition between the unshaded area and the shaded area, and then uses the eraser to create the very lightest tones. So this is also the way, but it totally depends on you what result you want to achieve. But if you like to achieve my result of the work, this is how I do it. So you can try to follow my way of drawing and my technique. If you don't like it, you just can use a little different one. But I know it's really slow. But I enjoy it. It's just so enjoyable for me. So it's just the process is really relaxing, and yeah. I know it looks terrible right now. I don't like the stages of the work because it looks like I don't know. I don't like the working process like this. I like it when it's after the shading process, before adding the texture. It's okay, but it's when it's unfinished, I feel like it doesn't look like it. But it's totally normal, because we are not there yet. We have still many things to finish. So you can see me that I'm going over the shaded parts, and I'm also going over the edges of the shading to create really blurry edge and little transition between the shaded and unshaded area. And right now I'm getting to the blending stump, and you can see that I'm blending the smaller parts of the drawing. I'm not going to go to the larger areas. I'm just going to blend the small areas of the darker shadows, and also using the absorbed graphite to create more shadows under her nose. Yeah, you can see me using just one side of I'm not going back and forward. I'm just going one way, and then I lift the blending stem, and then I push it, then I touch the paper and just go one way. So not back and forth, because that would create some unwanted smudges. And I'm getting to the shading part again. So I'm using the soft pencils right now. You can use a 4B, 5B, 6B graphite pencil. I like to use 6B in this case, but with very light pressure, just using just a little amount of pressure to create very, very soft layers again. And right now I'm trying to create a gradual transition on the tip of the nose, the gradual and it's starting to look a little better, or at least a little bit. No, but it's starting to appear, the form is starting to appear, but I know it's really slow. That's also because I like to achieve some kind of softness in the work, so I don't know why I like it. Sometimes I like the hard lines to be visible in the sketches, but it's mostly about the freehand quick sketching style, not in the realistic portraits, because the realistic portraits are so much. So right now you can see me using 4B graphite pencil, just using a little bit more pressure to darken the nostrils and to get to the darker values. You can also use 5B, 6B graphite pencil to achieve the darker values. It's actually sometimes I use 4B with a little bit more amount of pressure, and then I just use it 6B with just a little less amount of pressure. It's just totally up to you, but you need to know that the more pressure you use, the more graphite the pencil produces. It means that if you use 2B graphite pencil with a little more of pressure, you can achieve the same value also with 4B graphite pencil with less amount of pressure. So the softer pencil you use, the more graphite it produces, the darker values you're able to achieve with this grade of pencil. But also it depends on the pressure you use. If you like to know more, I just will add the link to the description where I try to talk about the way of using the pencils. So I will write it down because otherwise I will forget it. So link to the usage pencils. And still you can see me darkening the parts where the darkest shadows are. So it's the form is just getting more visible in here. Yeah. Still trying to create a cast shadow right next to the nose and also under her nose. And also when you try to create a cast shadow, which is actually the shadow created by some object that prevents the light from coming through, and prevents from bouncing the light from other object. So it means that the nose prevents from the light from coming through, and creates a shadow on the rest of her face. And when you look at the photograph, you can actually see. I'm sorry for the noises. Somebody is repairing or doing something in. There's some kind of reconstruction right next to me, and they're doing it actually every day, all the day. So I was trying to wait until they finish it, but it looks like they're not going to finish it. So yeah, so here we go. When you look at the cast shadow, you can see that there are no harsh lines, there are no hard edges on the shadow. There are actually very soft transitions between the shadow and the midtones and the highlighted parts. So we're going to create very blurry edges. It's going from the very darkest parts to the very lightest ones of the shadow. From the nose, under the nose, there is the darkest part, and it's getting to lighter tones. But they're very soft transitions. But when you look closely at the photograph, you will see that there is actually a difference in the values as it's gradual. So still trying to darken the nostrils. Also in the nostril part, I used most of the pressure. I pushed really hard to create the darkest tones, but you can also use the 5B, 6B grade of the pencil to create the darkest parts. See, still you can see the texture of the paper in here. If you're getting darker and using softer pencils, you can actually see more of the texture in the paper. I will get rid some of the white dots with the blending tool. So after the blending, it will be a little bit better, but you will still see the texture of the paper. So if you want to go really smooth and consistent and make it look like a photograph, and the only texture you will get is by your hand. So you want to get the shading part really soft and smooth, I recommend to use the Bristol paper with smooth surface, because there are also Bristol papers with a rough surface, if I'm not mistaken right now. And I don't use this one because I don't really like the textured paper. I like to use the texture paper for some kind of quick sketching, but I don't really use it so often. So I recommend to use a Bristol paper with a smooth surface. This one, let me see which one I use. This one is from Canson. Not in the drawing right now. In the drawing you can see there is the sketchbook paper, and I don't really know the brand, but I don't think it's the best one on the market. It's just a normal quality of the paper. But the one I recommend to you when you want to get the really smooth result is Bristol paper from Canson. It's a French brand, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's from France. And I usually use extra smooth and white kind of Bristol. So yeah, if it's not, if you can't really find this in a local art store, I think you can find it on eBay or Amazon, or you can try some different Bristol paper, or you can try some other kind of paper which is with the smooth surface. Just you will just know when you touch the paper, you will know that you can achieve smooth result, because it's really nice and smooth. The surface is without the texture. And in this case, when you use the Bristol paper, that's where you can just achieve really smooth results, and then the texture will be created only by your hand. So it's great. So let's get back to the drawing, to the video. I'm using a blending stump to blend everything. Actually, I don't usually use the blending stump for this kind of for blending the skin, but in this case, I really wanted to get rid of the white dots, and since the blending stump is really effective blending tool, I was trying to go over with more pressure, using more pressure, and to get rid of it. But still, as I said before, I don't use the back and forth movements to avoid the smudges in the drawing. That's why I was using just one side, one direction motions. I don't know how to call it. So you just you just touch the paper, go one direction, and then you pick it up and then go back again without touching the paper, and then again. I don't know if I say it right. I don't know if it's right way, but this is how I do it. I don't use the back and forth movement, which is like touching the paper all the time, going back and forth. This is where you will create some marks on both sides of the movement, on the edges of the movement. So I recommend to use circular motions or just one direction motions. And right now I'm going back to the shading part, so getting one final layers of the shading using 4B, also with a little chisel point on the tip, and I'm using the flat plane of the pencil. Also, I just want to mention that the photo reference is by Ione Haust. I hope I pronounce it well. I found the picture on Unsplash, which is just a platform for your royalty-free images, and I use it quite often. Also Pexels, because these pictures are just for usage, for your own usage. You don't even need to credit the person. I'm not sure, but I always try to mention the original author of the reference photo, because I think that it's good to give the deserved credit to the photographer. So yeah, I'm just trying to darken the shadow on the side. I'm still using the 4B graphite pencil, as you can see in here. And I will add a few more layers of shading just to darken the shadow. I'm actually not using softer pencils in here because I really want to get rid of the white dots, the texture of the paper. So I will try to get rid of it with more soft layers of shading. So I'm using this harder pencil, harder pencil than the 6B I usually use for the darkest shadows. So I really try to get rid of it, and I will just go over using the flat plane of the chisel point tip, and yeah, I will just try to darken it and to make it more consistent, and to get rid of the white dots. That's the texture of the paper. So this shadow on one side of the nose is the significant shadow. I always try to compare it to the reference photo to know where the shadows exactly are, because I want to keep the I want to keep the beautiful shape of the nose. I want to, which is really emphasized by the shadow and by the light, that the light is coming from one side and just prevent the nose, the form itself prevents from the light from coming through, which creates the shadow. So it's like a cooperation of the light and the form, creating this effect, this final effect, which is just the very differently looking form than just with the light from the front. As I said before, just made it a little complicated. So as you can see in here, I'm using the blending stump with the circular motions because I want to get rid of the smudges, because right now I'm just absorbing a lot of graphite as I'm blending the final stages, the more of the graphite than I was blending with the beginning. So the blending stump absorbs the graphite, and I just don't want to smudge it. As you can see in here, yes, I created a little smudge. So I needed to get rid of it with eraser. And yeah, this is a time for another layer. So I'm creating little transition between the nostril and the rest of the wing, because there is a little shadow. Also, I will add one more layer to the darkest parts of the nose. Also using the flat plane of the chisel point, still using the 4B graphite pencil. I think I made it a little darker than in the reference photo, but I don't really mind. But I don't know if I have because sometimes I work with lightness of the photograph because I want to see all of the details which are not visible in the dark parts. So I just brighten it up. I just use more of the lightness in the photograph, and then I forget it. So I think that this is the photograph with such a lightness in it. So all the shadows are really little lighter than in the original photograph. So then I change it to the original lightness. But yeah, I think this is the original lightness. I will just work with this one. Yes. And I love the photograph. She is so beautiful. Look at her eyes. She is really beautiful. And it's hard to find such a beautiful photograph, really. I can see there are so many photographs of models or just this kind of beauty photographs in the royalty-free images, but it's hard for me to find something I really like to draw. Because you need to think about something before you start drawing, and you want to really achieve the realistic results. Like in here, I spend a lot of time with the drawing and with the person I'm drawing, actually. So I try to find the person that I really like to look at, and sometimes I identify with the object of the drawing, with the person I'm drawing. It's a little weird. It's something between you and the artwork, because then after spending many hours on drawing it, you will just get some feelings to it. I don't know how to say it. It's just because you have something in common because you created it and you spend a lot of time with it. So yeah, it's your friend or something like that. I don't know how to call it. Maybe it's weird for you. Please don't think I'm weird too much. I am for sure, but not too much. I'm a normal person. Yeah, but it's really just try it by yourself. Spend like tens of hours with something, and then you will fall in love with it somehow because it's yours. Or you can just feel that you created a living creature that you have a friendship with. I don't know. It's weird. I know. Oh, sorry for that. So still using many layers of the soft shading, trying to achieve darker values. We're getting really dark in here. And now we're just trying to get the form done, and we will blend it all together before creating the highlights and the texture in the skin. We're actually getting to the final layers. So in case you have any questions just related to this process or any other process, or you want me to narrate a specific video you just found on my Patreon, just let me know. I would like to let me know in the comments or in the direct messages. I would love to help you with that. So right now I'm using the same soft paintbrush. I can see it's number 8. Is it? So it's a synthetic paintbrush, and I just try to use it to merge nicely everything together, and also to create some kind of transition between the values, between the very dark one and the lighter one. And as you can see on the photograph, there is really significant highlight on the one side of the bridge of the nose. So I'm using a pencil eraser, which is from Kohinoor. It's just a regular eraser put in a pencil form, so you can easily create some precise erasing. It will help you. The pointed tip will help you to get really detailed, and just please, before you apply it to the drawing, just make sure that it's clean. So just drag it on a special piece of paper to get rid of some rest of the graphite you picked up with the pencil eraser, with the tip of the pencil. So you will prevent from some smudging. And yeah, so I'm just tapping on the paper, and this is how you pick up the graphite and create the highlights. Just don't push too much. Be very gentle, because after a few hours working on the portrait just deserves your gentle touch. Yeah. And as you can see right now, I'm just cleaning it on the special piece of paper, and now I will apply it also to get more of the highlights. And this is how you get the contrast in the realistic drawing. That's great. The contrast will always help you to create more realistic result. The contrast will help you to add more depth to the drawing. And right now you can see me using some harder pencil. It can be 2H HB pencil, F pencil, to create some mole on the skin, and right now I'm using a blending stump just to blend it and to create like blurry effect of the mole or the mark on the skin. So that's all from me. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, just let me know. Please stay safe, and thank you for being here, part of my Patreon family. Thank you for your support. Bye.